Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, kicking off a pretty good show I think we got this week. We're going to talk a little football about Alex Smith officially retiring from the NFL. And mostly going to talk about combat sports this week. UFC 261, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal for the belt. Plus that circus of a fiasco pay-per-view that happened this past weekend. Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. But before we get into the show, head over to staytunesports.net. On the right-hand side there is all of our social media accounts, which is our Twitter account, ST Sports Podcast, as well as our Facebook page and YouTube page. And you're gonna want to follow those two because I'll explain in a few minutes here why. But also on the top there is our merch tab. If you ever want to buy any of our T-shirts or hats, hoodies, especially with the spring coming, even though it snowed today in Northeast PA, which is like, come on, Mother Nature, get your shit together here, you know. But so this past Friday though kicked off the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series at Daytona, and tell you what, man, it was a very, very entertaining race. I have certain reasons to be paying attention to laps and things like that, and at one point I just lost track of what lap it was because it's just so entertaining. You couldn't, take your eyes away from the racing from top to bottom. But Jason Gracias won the race. Very, very good win for him. A lot of I guess you could say there's a lot of changes. There was Chris Darling was up there for a little while, who did not beat James Lareau, the Stay Tuned Sports truck this year. I gotta take my little dig at Chris there because we like to little trash talk. But the one part of the race that even everybody in the chat there got everybody a little nervous for one of the racers. Actually, the truck got shot to the moon. There was a big wreck that included Jamar Dumas, and just typical computer glitch. The trucks were cramming into each other, and all of a sudden, whoop, right up in the air and never seen again. Like I think we're still waiting for him to land, but it was definitely a funny point of it of the race. But like I said, very good race. And unfortunately though, no one won the Blu-ray DVD of Greenland giveaway last week, so we are going to redo it again this week. Like I said earlier, we're at Chicagoland this week for the Wine Whiskey and Review 240. Same rules, same eligibility. Pick the ratio you think is gonna do the best. I'll post it in Facebook on the Stay Tuned Sports page, so make sure you're following that, and then make sure you share out the post itself too, and that's how you become eligible. But a little different this week. because you're gonna actually have a choice between two movies. You're gonna have a choice between the Greenland Blu-ray DVD, or I'll send you a digital code for the movie Vanquish, which is starring Morgan Freeman and Ruby Rose. And I saw the trailer for it, and it looks really good. I mean, if you guys go over to YouTube, look it up. Basically, it's a movie about a mother who her name is Victoria, which is played by Ruby Rose, is trying to put her dark past as a Russian drug courier behind her. But retired cop Damon, who is played by Morgan Freeman, forces Victoria to do his bidding by holding her daughter hostage. Now, Victoria must use guns and guts and a motorcycle to take out a series of violent gangsters, or she may never see her child again. Like I said, it looks like a good movie. I know me and my wife talked about we're actually gonna watch it and probably do a review on that on our other podcast, Wine Whiskey Review. But make sure you guys, I'll put the post out Friday morning, so that way we have all day to put your picks in. And the race starts over on YouTube on 3Y TV at 9 p.m. Eastern. And like I said, Chicagoland's usually a pretty good racetrack, an entertaining one too. And especially with these guys, we actually had a lot of new faces in the chats, and it was nice to see that. And we all joke around, ball bust, all that type of stuff. It's a good time. You guys definitely should check it out. So Alex Smith has officially retired a couple days ago by putting out a video on his Instagram page. It was about a 2-minute long video. I kind of watched it, and you guys could go out there and find it. Very well put, I gotta say. How he talked about where he came from, where he was as far as the NFL, and what was going through his mind when he had to go through the rehab process with the broken leg. Basically said, he wasn't a high recruit coming out of high school, wasn't supposed to be anything in college, wasn't supposed to really do anything. He was supposed to be a bust in the NFL, even though he was drafted number 1 by the 49ers. And even said that he, at one point when he started rehab, didn't think he would ever make it back to the NFL until one day, as rehab, his doctor just tossed him a football. And he said instantly, once that football hit his hands, he just felt like he felt stronger, more driven, and what once seemed impossible began to come into focus. So, yeah, he most likely won't be a Hall of Famer, and didn't have the Tom Brady type career. But I'll tell you what, he most likely inspired a lot of people to never give up, no matter how down you get in what situation. There's always a way out of a bad situation. And if someone doesn't make a movie out of this, or a Netflix original, or even make another ESPN documentary about it, really go in depth where he came from as a kid and stuff like that. I know they did one called, I think it was called like Project 11. But this would be up there with, like, if they were to make a movie out of this would be up there with like Rudy, very inspirational type movie. And also, this just screams NFL needs to change the Comeback Player Award name to the Alex Smith Award. I mean, we got the Walter Payton Award, so why not name this one Alex Smith Award? Because who is going to top this type of comeback in a career? So, like I said, very, very little football news, even though next week is the NFL draft. And speaking of which, 99.9% sure I'm going to do a Podbean Live stream during the draft, just like how me and our good friend King did the Notre Dame Clemson game. And I may have, excuse me, I may have actually some of the drivers from the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series come join us to talk football, talk whatever sports we want to talk about, just like we did with the Notre Dame Clemson game. So if you want to come join us, make sure you download the Podbean app. You don't have to download Podbean Live, but once the time comes, you could either search Stay Tuned Sports on there, or as long as you're following us on Facebook and Twitter, I'll be sharing out the link that all you gotta do is click and it'll automatically take you right to our live stream. So this segment, which is going to be kind of a little bit longer because I'm going to mix a couple different topics in here, is called our Kombat Corner, which is sponsored by BetAngles. Visit betangles.com for all your expert sports betting picks and research tools for only $10. So remember, that's betangles.com. So let's start off with the whole Jake Paul thing. The whole Jake Paul fight that happened last week. I'm sure you guys seen the pictures of Ben Askren before the fight, at the weigh-ins, basically had the dad bod going. And Jake Paul, who trains every day, weightlifts, all that stuff. You've seen the videos of him sparring. Well, in case you didn't see the pay-per-view, one, you're lucky. Let's put it that way. I wish I had like 2 or 3 hours of however long that pay-per-view was of my life back. But Jake Paul beat Ben Askren within 2 minutes of the first round. And this is his third win as a professional fighter. Then he basically became a meme because he collapsed to the canvas, crying in tears, but then jumps up and starts celebrating by doing push-ups. Listen, everybody, some of the people on there were saying, he's legit, this and that. You beat a YouTuber, you beat a former NBA basketball player, and you beat a former MMA fighter who just had hip surgery, who looked like he didn't get 2 shits about the fight because he knew he was getting a payday. Fight somebody that has some experience with stand-up. Because again, Ben Askren is a wrestler. And on top of that, I guess there was a little part of the negotiation that Ben said that he'll box Jake Paul as long as Jake Paul will do a wrestling match against Ben Askren after this fight. Well, now Jake Paul is backing out, saying, "Oh, he's a loser. Why would I do that?" Well, it sounds like you're scared because there is a video out there that you want to go spar in a MMA cage and you got your ass kicked. Within the first 2-3 minutes, you gassed out. So, I mean, one, I could see why you want to not challenge Ben Askren to a wrestling match, but you keep calling out. Also, he keeps calling out former UFC and MMA guys. He called Daniel Cormier out. Dylan Donatis wants to fight him, which that's the other thing too, is give him someone his size. He wants to keep going after Dylan Donatis, and Dylan is a lot smaller guy than Jake Paul. The one guy I would love to see, since he wants to go after former and retired fighters, put Chris Lieben in there. We saw what he could do in bare knuckle. He will murder Jake Paul. I'm telling you. And if he could beat Chris Lieben, I'll start to put a little bit of respect on his name. Not much, but a little bit. Another person that I keep seeing the name floating around is Fury. I forget the kid's first name, but he's basically another young up-and-comer, but he does have the name, he does have the following, and I think the odds I saw of him fighting him, it was like 6-1 or something like that. some of the other names I saw still was Floyd Mayweather on there. Floyd would not drop down to fight Jake Paul. That would just be an embarrassment to Jake Paul. And the one comment he said after the fight, which really just like, I just wish someone would just put this kid to sleep. He jumped up after the fight and got next to Snoop Dogg at the commentating booth and said, I told you I was going to do it in the first round. I told you I'm a real fighter. I don't know how many times I have to go prove myself this is for real. Again, you didn't fight any boxers yet. You fought a former basketball player. You fought a YouTuber who pushes buttons. And you fought a MMA guy who is broken down. Bad hip, bad back. And really didn't look like he trained at all. Fight somebody that knows how to box, and then we'll see if you're real and legit. As far as the pay-per-view overall, though, man, what a freaking circus. One, there was more music than fighting. The first 2 hours showed only one fight, and the rest was all music. I actually had both TVs going. I had my small TV going with this pay-per-view going on, and me and the wife were playing Call of Duty on the big screen. And even the music was garbage. I mean, I understand it's rap, and that's pretty much what goes with boxing anymore. You know, you're not going to really see heavy metal or, you know, classic rock or anything like that. But it's just garbage. And Oscar De La Hoya, dude, like, I forget who I saw tweet it out, but saying, you know, basically like, listen, you know, it's all fun and games to laugh at him and make fun of him, but he has a problem with drugs. You could tell on that broadcast, he just wasn't all there. And now he wants to come out of retirement and box. It's not going to be good for him, and someone needs to step in and give him help. But I mean, just overall, just even the commentators, the way they were talking to each other, just felt like a circus. Didn't even feel like a real boxing fight. And if they're going to keep on putting on shows like this, there's not going to be many times left for Fight TV to put any boxing matches on. The other fight that had a little bit of a circus to it was between Regis Prograis and Ivan Redkach, or however you say his name, Redkach. So basically, in the 6th round, Ivan had to be stretchered out of the ring because he was saying that his opponent punched him below the belt. Even though all the replays show it was a kidney shot, it was nowhere near below the belt. And for that to end that way, then the whole Jake Paul fiasco, just a garbage of a pay-per-view. So, and the only other comment I'll make is for anybody that keeps making fun of bare knuckle and saying that's a circus, you guys should watch this, and then you might put a little more respect on bare knuckle's name. So UFC 261 is this weekend, the Saturday, and it's most likely the best card we're going to see this year. Maybe the best card we're going to see in the past 5-6 years. I mean, it's stacked. We have the welterweight belt on the line. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2. Let's not forget, last time they fought, Masvidal lost by decision, but on 6 days' notice. And everybody always wondered, would the fight be different if Masvidal had a full training camp. The co-main event is Zhang Weili, who is the women's strawweight champion, versus Rose Namajunas. Rose looking to reclaim that belt after, I don't think she really retired, but she kind of hinted at that she'd rather not be the champ and just fight, which is kind of strange. I mean, you win the belt, you basically get a pay raise, so why not try to win the belt? Before them, another championship fight, women's flyweight, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. Let me just stop there. That's how stacked this card is when you have Valentina Shevchenko as the third fight, and it's a championship fight. Very rare you see a UFC card like that. Before them, we have Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. I'm just gonna say it now. I think Weidman's gonna get his ass kicked. I mean, he should have retired about 5 fights ago, and I'm just hoping this is not like a BJ Penn where he's afraid to hang it up. You know, and Uriah Hall is still putting on good fights, and I think it's going to end very quickly for Chris. But kicking off the UFC 261, we have Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute in the light heavyweight division. So starting with that fight, like I said a few fights ago, I think Anthony Smith is another one. When he fought John Jones, I think that was his top of his prime, of his career. That was his best chance to win a championship, and just doesn't seem like since then he really hasn't gained that momentum back. You know, he lost a few, he won a few, but not like how he was before he fought John. So this one, I'm going with Jimmy Crute to win that one. Like I said, middleweight, Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. I think Uriah Hall is going to win this one. I believe Hall won his last fight. So if he wins this one, you may need another 1 or 2 more fights before he's considered to be back in that title talk. But Weidman is a big name because, you know, Weidman did beat Anderson Silva at Anderson's highest point of his career. So Uriah Hall definitely is going to win that one. Then the women's flyweight championship, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. Here's the thing. At some point, and we've seen this last weekend, I believe, with Demetrius Johnson, everything comes to an end at some point. Anderson Silva, like I said, Demetrius Johnson here, Conor McGregor. You know, at what point does Valentina get caught or just gets figured out finally? Now, I'm not saying Jessica is going to do it, but if she could get close enough and land those punches, because Andrade has power. Because, you know, we saw that with her and Rose. She knocked out Rose. Granted, she slammed her, but she knocked her out. But Valentina's kicks, we saw that with the Jessica I fight. She connects, you're going out. But this goes up with the old pick the Patriots until they tell you otherwise, show you otherwise. And I'm going Valentina. I don't think there's any women in that division that could touch Valentina right now except for Amanda Nunes. And if she wins and Weili Zhang wins, and I'll touch on that in a second here, I would probably rather see that fight over Valentina and Nunes. Because again, I just don't think there's any women in the UFC that could touch Nunes right now. And I think she's going to play it smart and go out on top at the right time. So as far as the Valentina fight, I'm going with her to win. I think she retains the belt. I don't see this one going to decision. I think this one goes to about the 3rd round, and then Valentina puts her away. So like I just said about the Valentina and possibly Zhang super fight, Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas. I like Rose. I've always liked her. I just think Zhang is just a different fighter compared to when Rose was coming up to fight JJ, and when she won the belt. I think this could be a very good fight, though. I think this could be a entertaining fight, a good setup fight for the main event. But I still think Weili pulls off the win here, and then, like I said, brings the question: does she fight Valentina or does she fight Amanda Nunes for a super fight? Then for the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. I like Masvidal. No, I don't like him because of his political Twitter stuff or anything like that. That's not why I like him. I just like how he's a fighter. He knows how to sell fights. If Masvidal could keep away from Usman, I think he has a 50-50 chance at winning. What we saw in Usman's last fight was him putting Gilbert Burns away with knocking him out. Show that he still has power. He could strike, even though Masvidal is probably the better striker. I just don't see Masvidal winning this, though. I think Usman does eventually, get him to the ground and wears him out, just like he did to Woodley and even Covington. Even though Covington, lasted a lot longer than Woodley, I think Usman's going to take him into deep waters and just drown him and retain the belt at UFC 261. So that is our Combat Corner for the week, which is sponsored by BetAngles. Visit betangles.com for all your expert sports betting picks and research tools for only $10. That's betangles.com. So I think that's going to be it for us this week. I may be live tweeting the UFC pay-per-view, so make sure you guys head over to STS Sports Podcast so you guys can follow us there, interact with us. I'll probably do some polls during the fights or whatnot. Also, make sure you follow us there, and make sure you follow us on our Facebook page because of Friday night's race for the giveaway. I'll post about the races Friday morning, so that way you guys could comment in the comment section who you think is going to finish the best as far as our racers, and share it out there, and like our Stay Tuned Sports page to be eligible for a Blu-ray disc of Greenland or digital code of Vanquish with Ruby Rose and Morgan Freeman. So till next week, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.